Good evening and welcome to WOLV's NCAA selection show. I am a frenzied Danny Schwab. And why do you ask? Because the madness is upon us. And speaking of madness, Michigan will also be part of the big dance. Our Wolverines will be facing the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers in Dayton, Ohio this Thursday. Michigan is a number 9 seed. Western Kentucky is a number 8 seed. Now, Western Kentucky, I'm sure you're wondering, who are these guys? And that's a good question. We have all the inside scoop for you. Everybody's here, celebrities, you name it, we got it. But speaking of Western Kentucky, they are led by one Ralph Willard. Actually, Ralph Willard left a year ago. The new coach is Matt Kilcullen. He's from Jacksonville. The tallest man, though, this could be a key to the game, is 6'8". That's Steve Hawley. The key player for the Hilltoppers is one Chris Robinson. Now, joining me right now, folks, is Craig Saffron. Craig, make that Chad. Chad Saffron. Chad is a former Michigan sports beat writer for the Wolverines. He's the former sports editor for the Michigan Daily. He's done it all. He's now WOLV's analyst, and he's going to give us the inside scoop. He's going to give us a complete analysis, not only of Michigan's game, but of all the brackets. If you're a betting man and you want to know where to place your money, he's going to let you know everything from A to Z. And Chad, let's start up right now with the Michigan game. As I mentioned, they are a number 9 seed. Some people were worried they weren't going to make the tournament at all. However, immediately when the brackets were announced, the first team was the Illinois Fighting Illini. That put expectations to ease. Therefore, Michigan takes the number 9 seed in the Midwest, a difficult bracket. Explain the matchup.
Well, with Michigan, you definitely have the size advantage, which is important with players like Maurice Taylor, Maceo Baston, and Maktar Injai. They should be able to take advantage of the Hilltoppers inside. However, the problem Michigan will have is if the Hilltoppers do play a zone, which they have been known to do in the past. Early this year, and actually for most of the season, Michigan has struggled from the outside. Their three-point percentage is one of the lowest in the Big Ten, and they haven't found any consistency from Dugan Fife or Travis Conlon, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson. They've had some good games, but not really consistent through the season. That could cause problems for Michigan. However, Michigan should move on to this game because they will accommodate themselves well to the Hilltoppers' up-tempo game. Michigan excels in the open floor with Conlon and Fife pushing it, and getting players like Baston and Jimmy King on the break. They should be able to get a number of easy layups. But then again, the press. If Western Kentucky chooses to press, it could be a long night. That's been something Michigan's had to deal with all year long. One differential you did not mention, which could play a huge role in the game, is experience. Michigan obviously is the more experienced team in big games. They also have 2 players which could make a whale of a difference. Jimmy King and Ray Jackson, they are 2 of the leading active scorers in the NCAA tournament. Jimmy King really has to step up his game. It's what I would consider a disappointing season for a player so regarded out of high school when he came out. Number 12 overall, and now after 4 years, he has some fine statistics to show for his time here in Ann Arbor, and as well as 2 appearances in the Final Four. However, this is his time to shine. If he really wants to play at the next level, then he has to step up his game. I mean, if Jimmy King is not averaging 18 points or more during the tournament, Michigan will not go far. As far as Ray Jackson goes, Ray Jackson has been a solid tournament player. If you can remember a couple years ago against Oklahoma State in that game against Byron Houston, Houston, who was a first-team All-American that year, well, Jackson made him look really, really bad, and that helped Michigan go to the Final Four unexpectedly. Those kinds of performances will be needed. But it's some of the unsung players like Normal who need to step up. A couple years ago, it was James Voskuhl hitting the big shot against Cincinnati to put the Wolverines in the final against Duke. They need someone to step up. It maybe have to be Maurice Taylor, Maceo Baston. But what about Travis Conlon? He could become a very, very big factor. Travis Conlon, whose three-point shooting has come on of late. However, he is terrible outside of Chrysler. Chrysler Arena, a fantastic shooting arena. If you look, the seats are way set back. You can see it behind us. We are live from Kazi's Cathedral. But
It also has nice breakaway rims. It's perfect for somebody of one Travis Conlon's talents. If you are a historian and you like to go by the numbers, here's something for you to play with. Michigan is the only school to advance as far as the Elite Eight the past 3 years. I also did my research before we came on. They are the 4th most successful program in the tournament. They're behind Duke, UCLA, and Indiana. Not a bad crowd whatsoever. Most importantly, though, Steve Fisher is the winningest active coach in the tournament, and he is 12-0 in games decided by 5 points or less. That is a key statistic.
It definitely is. Fisher, of course, coming on in 1989, leading the Wolverines to the 6 games in a row and ultimately the title. It's a little tougher this year. He brings in a team that maybe didn't perform up to what it was supposed to. A 17-13 season, a loss to Purdue, not winning back-to-back games for basically the last month and a half, 2 months of the season. It could pose problems. But Fisher will get his players motivated for the first game. It's a question of if they do make it to the second game and should most likely run into Kansas should the Jayhawks beat Colgate, that's where Michigan will run into some big problems.
You're getting way ahead of yourself, Chad, my friend. I'm in a frenzy. I'm forgetting people's names. I'm wondering where I am. Auntie M, save me. It's a twister, and the twister's name is the Field of 64. Let's go right to the first brackets where Kansas was playing just like you mentioned. And in the Midwest, going right down from the #1 seed is Kansas playing Colgate. Colgate, of course, with Adonal Foyle, the fabulous freshman. No pun on words here with Michigan. Western Kentucky, Michigan, of course, they will be playing the winner of that Kansas game. Arizona and Miami of Ohio. That should be a fantastic game, especially considering that Arizona could be without star guard Damon Stoudemire. Continuing along, UVA and Nicholls State. Comments?
Well, I have to say, looking at the upper half of this Win-West bracket in Dayton, it's brutal. It is absolutely brutal. Virginia is a great team with Staples shooting from the outside. He can just fire away. But you have to look at the other teams that we have up there, especially Kansas. Kansas, one problem is experience. The one problem, they have experience in Ostertag, but they have Jacques Vaughn, who's a fabulous, fabulous point guard, and some nice inside-outside play. But their leading scorer and one of their top players, Gerard Haas, never been in an NCAA tournament game, transferred from California. This is his chance to step up. It becomes a question of what's really going to happen. Ostertag gets in foul trouble. You have some good players like Pollard who can provide points. But they're an up-and-down team. The losing to Iowa State may have really hurt them, considering they lost twice to the Cyclones this year.
Definitely. Haas, of course, was behind one Jason Kidd at California. Speaking of the other half of the Midwest bracket, let's go right to it, no delays. There you'll see Syracuse is playing Southern Illinois. Arkansas to play the Southland Conference winner that is either Texas, Southern, or Mississippi Valley. Kentucky versus Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's first trip ever to the big dance. BYU in Tulane. The Stormin' Normans, as my sport director Jeff Holzhausen likes to call them. Arizona State and Ball State. And Oklahoma and Manhattan. Manhattan actually getting an at-large bid to the NCAA. That was a shocker. No other team from the conference, the North Atlantic Conference, has ever gotten in. That was an absolute shocker. However, they did deserve it. 25 wins on the season. The Jaspers making it to the big field. When you look at the Midwest, it is top-heavy. However, in the latter side, you see Purdue. Purdue could make a run at it.
I don't know. Purdue seems they've been a very balanced attack this year. You don't win back-to-back Big Ten titles, especially in the second year without Glenn Robinson, without having some fine
scoring. A team that gets
scoring.
No credit, Chad, and they showed it today. Let me tell you something. They beat Michigan by 6, and the score doesn't show what happened. Nobody wants to give them what they deserve.
No, they don't, and people don't talk about Gene Cady much because of the fabulous players. Last year he had Glenn Robinson. This might be the very best job Gene Cady has done since he's been in West Lafayette, and he's probably one of the top 5 candidates, if not the eventual winner for Coach of the Year.
I agree completely. My producer, Scott Doyne, do I get a vote for AP Coach of the Year? I didn't think so. Anyways, let's sum up the brackets really quickly. We're going to go immediately to the Southeast. That's right, the Southeast bracket, starting off with the #1 seed. And to no surprise, it is the University of Kentucky. They'll be playing Mount St. Mary's. Then you have BYU, Tulane, Arizona State, Ball State, Oklahoma, Manhattan. The latter half of the Southeast bracket, I want to move right to it as I already gave you the first part of it. This is who will be matching those players. That's Georgetown Xavier. Immediately, remember you heard it here first, the big mouth of WOLV. Xavier will beat Georgetown, an excellent guard tandem of Massey and Sykes. They will beat the Hoyas. I guarantee it. Michigan State, Weber State, Iowa State, and Florida, UNC Murray State. Iowa State wasn't expected to get in until, Chad, they beat Kansas just a day ago.
They do have some fine players. Fred Hoiberg is one of the most outstanding long-range shooters. Against Kansas in the first matchup, he ripped off 16 points in a row to help lead the Cyclone comeback. In that bracket, though, if you look at one of the teams, Florida, a bubble team until earlier this week when they beat top 25 ranked Mississippi State in the quarterfinals of the SEC. That put them in the tournament. Then the NCAA selections committee decided to get a little nice to the Gators, maybe after last year's Final Four appearance. They will be playing in Tallahassee, not that far of a trip from Gainesville. Should they proceed along and upset Iowa State, they might match up with North Carolina in the second round. Should the Tar Heels be without Rasheed Wallace, who sprained his ankle in the game today against Wake Forest, the Tar Heels could be in for some problems. I mean, Dimitri Hill and Andrew DeClercq on the inside for the Gators are a fine tandem.
Tar Heels is one of the most overrated coaches in the country. I'm speaking of course, Dean Smith. This guy gets talent after talent after talent. Still, he can only win the big one when he gets a lucky break. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a Chris Webber timeout. Come on, give me a break here, folks. But right now, Chad, I'm going to ask you to scoot away. I want you to take a breath. I know it is exhilarating being with yours truly. And I'm going to talk to one Brian Dutcher. Brian Dutcher, the assistant coach of the Michigan Wolverines. He is going to tell us the reaction and the expectations. Let's move right to the coach. The man by my side needs no introduction. He is, of course, Michigan assistant coach Brian Dutcher. Coach Dutcher, we thank you for joining us. And I know right now you're in a frenzy trying to organize everything in preparation for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. First off, just moments ago, you found out that you would be playing Western Kentucky in Dayton, your number 9 seed, Western Kentucky number 8. Give us the reaction.
Well, it was exciting. I mean, as exciting as the Sunday can get, considering we lost just 2 or 3 hours earlier to Purdue, a game we really wanted to win to solidify our position into the tournament. And even flying back, we're like everybody else. We're putting pencil to paper and trying to make sure we got enough wins to get in. And there's a little apprehension whether we're going to make it or not. But to get back here and when you see your name go up on the screen on the TV set, it's exciting. And the kids were excited. And it's new life. It's 0-0 for everybody again. And whatever you did during the regular season doesn't matter now because you're in the 64 and you've got a chance to win it all.
You mentioned the Purdue game. How much did the loss to Purdue, losing by 6, affect your seeding in the tournament?
Well, I think it really affected the seeding. Had we won, we might have really jumped up in the seeding. Had we lost by 20, it might have had the opposite effect. I think playing them close kept us about where we were at going into the game. I think they probably had us at a 9 or 10 seed, and I think we ended up a 9 seed going in the tournament this year.
As previously mentioned, if Michigan should beat Western Kentucky, they will be playing Kansas. Kansas is the number 1 seed in the Midwest. You have much experience as an assistant coach in college basketball. Your father obviously coached at Minnesota. How do you prepare for an event of this magnitude?
Well, we're just thankful to be playing so close to home, and I don't know what the ticket situation is. You don't know how quick they sell out, but hopefully there's tickets available where we can get a lot of Michigan people down to Dayton. As far as playing Kansas in the second game, you know, you're going to talk like a coach always, and we want to get past the first one. But if we played Kansas, I think we would play them in Dayton. So I don't think we'd have to meet them in Kemper. I think the winner of our 2 games would go on to Kemper. So we're probably going to be, hopefully, what stands between them and going to Kemper. And we'd like to have a chance to play them in Dayton and beat them.
Since January, Michigan has only won back-to-back games once this season. You guys have maintained pretty much a 500 record the latter part of the season. Explain the mood of the team after the Purdue game and what you expect the mood to be from here on out.
I think our kids were really down after the Purdue loss because I think having beating them in here this year, they felt they had a chance to win the game. And we came out and got off to a really shaky start at the start of the second half, let them score the first 10 points, and then played them even the rest of the way, fought back, and ended up being down at 6, losing 6 at the game. So we were disappointed, but you get back in here and you get in the tournament, you get new life, and that's what's exciting about basketball. I know our kids are in there, they're talking about the bald heads and the black shoes, and it's just an excitement that goes along with it, and I guess we've been known for that, and I wouldn't be surprised when Michigan steps on the floor in Dayton that you're going to see a bunch of bald heads and some black tennis shoes, and hopefully a good game.
Well, Michigan is definitely known for its style. However, leading the pack is, of course, Ray Jackson and Jimmy King. They are two of the leading scorers, active scorers in the tournament. How much does it help having a couple of those guys around?
Well, their tournament experience is going to be invaluable. I think Ray Jackson, more than any of the Fab Five over the years, stepped up his play at tournament time more than Jalen, Juwan, Chris, or Jimmy. I thought Ray, over the last 4 years in tournament time, has stepped up and been fantastic, so we're hoping that continues. As far as the attitude in that, it's anything in life. If you feel good about yourself or whatever it takes to motivate you, to make you feel like you have a chance, to give you the edge, then I'm all for it. And if our kids feel good about putting on the gold uniforms and wearing the black shoes and shaving their head, if that gives us an edge and makes them feel like they're going to win the game, then I'm for it.
Let's speak of this Michigan squad in the sense of a lot of freshmen. No matter what you do this season, no matter what you have done this season, they're always going to make comparisons to the original Fab Five. The inexperience, what type of factors does that play in the tournament?
Well, I think I heard Ray say it best right after we got in. Someone was asking him, and he says he thought the freshmen, it's a long year, first year, they're tired, and it wears on them. But now it's a new season, and it gives them a chance to get rejuvenated. It's something they haven't been through. It's their first tournament. And maybe that excitement that Ray and Jimmy felt their first tournament is something these new kids are going to feel. And the comparisons with the first five, you got to remember, the first Fab Five was 11-7 in the conference. That's where this group finished up, 11-7. So as far as the conference record, they're identical. Now hopefully we can carry some of that same success to the tournament. I don't know, but that's going to be a goal of ours.
And then you speak of the inexperience of the freshmen. You mentioned how great Ray Jackson is playing. However, not to any surprise, you didn't mention Jimmy King, and I'm not trying to say that you're anti-Jimmy King. However, many of the critics have said that his game this year has been less than expected. He's been a bit of a disappointment.
I think Jimmy, when I was speaking to Ray in particular, I was talking about tournament games, how he had stepped it up in tournament time. I thought Jimmy had a pretty respectable senior year. He struggled a little bit during a 2 or 3 game stage there, and then came on these last 4 or 5 games of the conference and played really well. So I hope he can ride that crest into the tournament and feel good about himself. And if you feel good about yourself, you're going to play well. You can't play this game without confidence. If you don't have confidence, then you lost half the battle. So our kids have to go in confident. They can't go in scared or afraid to make mistakes. They have to go in at this point of the year and play.
6 Big Ten teams were taken this year in the tournament. That includes Michigan, Michigan State, Minnesota, Indiana, Illinois. Were you surprised Iowa did not make it?
I think Iowa was in if they beat Indiana today. They were the hottest team in the Big Ten at the end of the year with the exception of Purdue. I think they had won 6 out of their last 7 and tried to make it 7 out of 8, but got beat today by 40, and I think the margin hurt them too. I was surprised to see 6 Big Ten teams go. I was looking over the brackets and all the other conferences, and I thought we might get 5 teams in. But with Iowa losing, there was a cutoff there. All the teams that finished 10-8 in the conference got in. Iowa at 9-9, Penn State at 9-9 did not get in. And I'm sure it's a disappointment to Iowa, who had to play a large portion of the year without Jess Settles. And is Iowa one of the top 64 teams in the country? Yeah, they're one of the top 64 teams in the country.
Sure.
But the stretch in the middle of the year where they lost some close games hurt them at selection time.
I went through a stretch of 4 games where they lost by each team 1 point. That includes a Michigan game earlier in December. Iowa actually at the beginning of the year looked like the hottest team. They beat Duke, ending Duke's reign over the Big Ten. Still, Illinois had to be, of the remaining Big Ten teams who did make it into the field of 64, the biggest surprise.
Yeah, Illinois was struggling a little bit at the end of the year. Losses at home to Purdue. I think they lost 3 in a row, then came back. Fortunate for them that they had Northwestern, Ohio State to end the year, the 10th and 11th place teams in the conference. And those 2 wins basically vaulted them over the hurdle. It was close for them. I'm sure they were excited down in Champaign to see when their name come up, because I'm sure they were very concerned that they weren't going to make it.
And when you speak of disappointments, was this year a disappointment for the Michigan coaching staff? So many accolades coming into the year. almost every poll picked you in the top 25, yet you only managed a number 9 seed in the tournament.
Yeah, I guess you always have higher expectations. You wouldn't coach at Michigan unless you planned on winning the conference and playing for a number 1 seed every year. But as the year turned out, a 3rd place finish, not out of line for as many young kids as we had. Non-conference record of 6-6, unacceptable. We weren't very happy with that. But again, the conference play was respectable. 8-1 at home with a close loss to Michigan State. I thought we did a good job in here in the conference. Some tough losses on the road, but the thing that got us in probably were wins at Indiana, ending their 50-game winning streak, and win at Illinois. I think that was maybe the thing that pushed us above the rest of the teams in this conference.
I think most people would agree the game against Indiana was the biggest win for the Michigan squad this year. Still, when you look back, the losses to Washington, the losses to St. John's, the losses to Penn, that had to have hurt the team in the overall standings.
Oh, without question, that was the reason we were on the bubble. I mean, there's never been a team in this conference 10-8 that hasn't gone to the tournament, and I see today that's continued. They didn't turn down a 10-8 team. We might have been the first. If we didn't win 11 games in the conference, we probably would not have gone. So we put the heat on ourselves. We knew we had to make 11 wins. We made 11 wins, so we feel good about that. And now it's on to Dayton and hopefully a long run in the tournament.
Against Penn State, the key player was one Travis Conlon. Today, a plethora of players divvied in for the total, only losing by 6. The team actually gave it a good struggle toward the end. Who do you expect to come on come tournament time?
Well, I think you've got to have the inside-outside game. That's always the way it's been in the tournament. To make a long run, you've got to have big kids who are going to dominate inside. That's got to come from Akhtar, Maurice, and Maceo. And then we need Dugan, Travis, Ray, Jimmy, or someone else to step up and make some perimeter jump shots. We're not going to play very long if we can't step out and shoot the jump shot in from the perimeter.
So important to have good three-point shooting in college basketball today, especially come tournament time. My final question to you, you are notorious for being an excellent recruiter. Not to look too far into the future, I know you want to focus on the next 3 weeks. Hopefully it will last 3 weeks for Michigan. How much does being in the tournament and how much does advancing in the tournament have an impact on the recruits still remaining who have not committed to Michigan?
Well, I think of the remaining kids this year, I think most of their minds are set. They may not be verbalizing where they're going, but I think in the back of their minds they might have a favorite. The thing that helps is for the kids that are in 6th, 7th, 8th grade right now that grew up watching the Fab Five, watching Michigan, and right now we're a hot item around the country. Everywhere you go, kids are wearing Michigan shorts and shirts and coats, and a lot of that has to do with exposure. And to get the best exposure, you got to win in the tournament, because the further you go, the more people see you. So as we continue to have success in the tournament, Coach Fisher, I think 20-4 in the tournament. As we continue to have success in the tournament, it will do nothing but help our recruiting efforts.
Very strong marketed team that Michigan University is. You want to give us the inside word on anybody? Traylor, Garnett, you want to spill the beans?
I wish I could talk on it, but I can't comment on any of them due to NCAA rules. We're happy to have Albert White from Inkster and Lewis Bullock from Maryland joining us next year, both top 15 players, and we're going to continue to maybe sign one more at the end of the year.
Oh, how diplomatic. Any predictions?
Michigan is going to play hard and play smart and try to make a long run in this tournament. That's all I can predict.
I promised celebrities, I promised the inside scoop, and you got it right here. Coach Brian Dutcher of the Michigan Wolverines. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks.
Coach Brian Dutcher. Very intriguing. He's a true politician. I'm only a Bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Remind you of those Saturday mornings. And speaking of Saturday mornings, game to be played this Thursday and Saturday. Let's move it to the East bracket, my producer Scott Doyne, and I want to see who's playing out there. Leading off, Wake Forest. They won the ACC tournament, Chad. NCAA will be their opponent. Minnesota and St. Louis, Chad. I know you're going to want to talk about that one. Fantastic matchup. Bama and Penn, that's another great one. Oklahoma State and Drexel, big country out in East Rutherford, possibly. Tulsa, Illinois, they're the Fighting Illini. Villanova, Old Dominion, UNC, Charlotte, and Stanford. Finally, UMass to be playing St. Peter's, who defeated Manhattan earlier this year. As I speak, let's go to the first half of that bracket. We're going to go back to the bottom half. Minnesota, St. Louis.
Well, at least Clem Haskins can be glad of one thing. It's not at an opposing Big Ten arena where the Gophers notoriously have trouble. fine game. Vashawn Leonard's chance to have a good showing after maybe not a great season, an okay season. The Billikens can be a dangerous team. They don't have too many tall players, if I'm correct, not one over 6'7". But Erwin Claggett, H. Waldman, they can provide some outside scoring and some exciting play. Minnesota should get by, but then Minnesota should have gotten by Penn State on Saturday and lost anyway. A good matchup. Clem Haskins' teams don't tend to play that great in the tournament unless they're an underdog.
Well said. How about this? I'm going to go right out on a limb. My underdog, a la 1985, Villanova.
Villanova has been one of the hottest teams the past 2 months. Kerry Kittles is absolutely an outstanding basketball player. He can basically do about anything on the floor, inside, outside, play great defense. And then along with Eric Ebers from the outside, they can find a great 1-2 punch. Villanova has a great shot at going to the Final Four. Steve Lapis, only been there a couple of seasons after winning the NIT, though. This team is very dangerous.
And watch out for a Bama Penn game. We all know what the University of Pennsylvania can do. Gee, I remember something occurring here at Chrysler Arena. As for Alabama, one of the deepest universities in the field, their leading scorer and their leading rebounder come off the bench. Folks, I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm actually just grateful Michigan's in it. I jumped all over the East bracket. I want to move right to the West. I know UCLA's number one. No shocker there. They held on to it the longest of anybody this latter half of the season. And facing UCLA is the 11-18 Florida International. Missouri to be playing Bobby Knight. Mississippi State, Santa Clara, Utah, Long Beach State. Is UCLA a realistic chance to win it all?
They definitely do. UCLA is the best transition team in America. Charles and Ed O'Bannon out on the wings. Tyus Edney running the break. George Zedek in the middle. Excellent team. Best chance to win it in a very long time. If they do win it, Herrick will be the first UCLA coach since John Wooden left in 1975 to finally shed the label. And it's kind of interesting if you look at it. 20 years after the legend would have retired, this is Herrick's chance to make his mark in UCLA basketball history.
The fans in Westwood are getting very anxious. Indiana Mizzou also should be a dandy. Mizzou has the two freshman rookies and the big men. Well, let's go to the second half of the West bracket, and there you will see, oh yes, Nelly. You're going to have Oregon, Texas, Maryland, Gonzaga. Also, you will have a Texas game up there. You're going to see University of Cincinnati playing Temple. That's Bob Huggins versus Don Chaney. Talk about a clash of the Titans and clash of the tempers. And finally, UConn, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
The Cincinnati-Temple game is maybe the most intriguing matchup of any first-round game. Two contrasting styles. Temple loves to slow it down. They'll play in the 50s. On the other hand, Bob Huggins' Bearcats with Great Midwest Rookie of the Year, Danny Fortson in the middle, and also postseason tournament MVP, can run up and down the floor. Lizelle Durden, really interesting matchup. That one, along with the other half of the bracket, Missouri and Indiana, are probably the two best first-round games.
That's 2 years in a row UC's been in what's been called the most intriguing game of the year. Last year, they played Wisconsin in the first round and got beat. When you take a look at the brackets at a whole, you think the Midwest is obviously the most difficult.
Absolutely, with Kansas, Michigan, Virginia, Arkansas, Arizona. Those are five very solid teams. Miami of Ohio can be a sleeper also, should Arizona not get Ben Davis and Damian Stoudemire back due to their possible ineligibility. It's really strong. I do not see Kansas making it through as a number one seed. Arkansas, however, on the bottom half of that bracket, the competition may not be as strong should Virginia struggle with their outside game. I mean, there's only so much Junior Burrow can do on the inside for the Cavaliers. I definitely like Arkansas to come back. They've been playing pretty well until today's loss to Kentucky, but even that game went into overtime in the finals of the SEC, and they finally got it together. They're a team that maybe this loss will help them and refocus them a little bit.
Arkansas is a marked team as well. I mean, let's not forget it. Every team in the country is gearing for the Razorbacks, and they have actually done well with all the pressure, and the fact that they have been playing all these close games is only going to prepare them more for the tournament. In a bizarre sort of way, the national champion may be the most overlooked team in the country.
Well, it definitely could be. I mean, it's really tough to say. I mean, this season, as as far from ones in the past, has been what people call it parity. I like to call it balance. It's nice to see teams that can upset other people. It provides for a great tournament. But one team I think that people aren't really talking about, they do have a #1 seed, is Kentucky. Here's a team that's not lost many games this year.
Are we watching the same ball games this year, Chad? Are we on the same wavelength?
We must be. I don't know.
No, we must be not, Chad. We must be not, okay? Let's get this straight here, okay? We must be not, because I think, my friend, that working at the Daily got a little bit too much ink in the nose, all right? It affected your brain. Kentucky, let's get it right, okay, Chad? I'm going to help you out because it's your first time on TV, and TV people know it best. Kentucky is overrated. The guys stink. And let me tell you something, Chad. I can accept being a poor program. I can live with that. Because I actually transferred to Michigan. I went to a Division III school. They sucked. But let me tell you something. If you're going to be bad, you might as well look good on the court. And those shorts are so ugly, Chad. Let me tell you something. Those are so ugly you don't even find them at Goodwill for wholesale. Going off of that, let's look at this Kentucky squad. Okay, first you have Roderick Rhodes. Can we say inconsistent? I think that word most applies to this guy. Not only game to game, but period to period, half to half, minute to minute. Roderick Rhodes, they love to compare him to Michael Jordan down there, and that is a farce. How about let's comparing him to, say, I don't know, who won the CBA Rookie of the Year this year? I don't even know. That's who I'm going to compare Roderick Rhodes to. Then let's go to the outside. First, we got a guy named Pritchard. And in Kentucky, they love to create these monumental heroes, these Greek gods. They say Pritchard's like Larry Bird. Pritchard? I laugh. I scoff at that comment. And then you go to Shepard. Shepard's the one decent player on that team. The one decent player who can shoot from the outside, who gets scared. He's in the form of, say, a Ford. I will tell you right now, Kentucky will not last and make it to the Sweet 16.
Well, they have a lot to make up for last year's showing. They didn't play very well against
Marquette.
Lost to Marquette in the first round, but they do have the experience. They made it. They played a great game in '92 against Duke. In '93, they made it to the Final Four, lost to Michigan.
Wait, don't we have a consistent theme going here? Loss, didn't reach expectations, disappointment. Yeah, I begin to see the consistency thing going here. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Well, I don't agree with what you're saying about Kentucky, Danny. I mean, Pitino is a great coach, but
move it, Skinny. I got to talk to
Chad. If there's one person that's president's over you, it's Michigan's one and only super fan. Chad, we'll get back to you later. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. I knew we were going to have a handful of guests from inside and outside of WOLV, campus guests, Ann Arbor guests, nationwide guests, and a celebrity of sorts, Michigan superfan. Congratulations on your success in cheering all the students this year, and thank you for coming.
No problem, Danny. Feeling a little frisky tonight, are you?
I'm always feeling frisky. Let me ask you something here, superfan. Michigan's the #9 seed. They're playing Western Kentucky. Now, the Western Kentucky are the Hilltoppers. Can they win it? Can they go to the Final Four? And can I have a free plane trip a la WOLV to Seattle?
Michigan can win it. Michigan will win the Final Four. Danny, do you hear me? They will win the Final Four. Who are we playing? The Hilltoppers? Let's think. Hilltoppers? You got the Wolverines. Wolverines are going to chew those hillbillies up. We're going to send them home.
Hilltoppers.
Hillbillies. They're from Kentucky, hillbillies. They don't have a chance. The Wolverines are going to beat them, then they're going to beat Kansas, and we're going all the way to the Final Four, and if you don't like it, tough.
Unbelievable enthusiasm here. Now, you realize this has been a bit of a subpar year for the Wolverines. I mean, they've had some tough losses.
It happens. But I don't care.
Now, has anybody made comparisons between you and Preachers, Jim Baker and such? I mean, can we reveal who's behind your mask?
No, you can't. You'll never know. You hear me? You'll never know. You'll never know either.
The world will never know. What we do know is your love and affection for this university. Now, tell me something. Why do you think Michigan will go all the way?
Danny, I'll tell you what. They got a good inside game. They got a good outside game. Their outside game does need a little bit of improvement, but you got Travis Conlon. He's playing out of his mind right now. You got Dugan Feist. Everybody loves Dugan. You got Maurice Taylor down low. You got the big Mac Tarangi down low. We're going to the hoop.
Oh, my, oh, my. Superfan, I got to get going. We got a lot going on here, and you're an unexpected guest. I want last comments from you. I wanted you to know something, okay? Let me take a moment of your time. Chad Saffron, who was supposed to be our analyst, he says he thinks Kentucky could win it all. Now, you think Michigan can win it all. How would you combat that comment?
Well, Dan, he wrote for the Daily. I don't think he knows what the hell he's talking about. I think Michigan's going to win it.
On that controversial note, I just hear that Steve Fisher's beginning his press conference in the media lounge. We are going to join live Steve Fisher's press conference and hear what the coach of the Wolverines has to say about the team's chances this year. In addition to Coach Fisher, I've just been told by my producer, Ray Jackson will be joining the coach in the media room, so we will get an inside, in-depth scoop over what the team feels will happen this weekend. Superfan, thanks a lot. Let's go to the press conference.
Why do you guys deserve to be in this round? We swept two of the top teams in the Big Ten. We split with one team. We played well. Although we lost a lot of games, most of them been close down to the wire games. We played well. We just have young talent, and it's coming together every game.
What ingredients does this team have that could help it in the tournament?
Well, I look back on our freshman, we had a youth group. I think our freshmen were tired with the long season they had to face in college. I think they're prepared and ready to go. And I think the excitement to be back in the game. Everybody's excited and ready to go now.
You've been through 4 announcements now. How does this one compare with the other ones?
The first two, basically wolverines. We always talk about it on the bus. They had me nervous. This is the worst outcome since I've been here all the way. Got paranoid all the time.
Have you looked through the entire bracket, like your second round opponent, Kansas and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, when you look at it, but most of the teams you expect to see, you expect to be there more. The tournament is so tricky. So, you just have to focus on the first team. Be ready for them.
So, was there a quick speech by the coach after you guys know y'all was in? After you guys started shouting and high-fiving and clapping, he said, okay, wait a minute, let's get busy now.
I told everybody to get ready to put their black shoes and black socks on and get ready to play ball. We got to go back to war. Fight like the teams in the past. We bring that to the table now. A couple of good practices headed into the game. I think we can come out with great, definitely great show.
And on the way to Purdue, I started putting down all the 30 teams that were guaranteed to be in, or the conference champions, and then started circling the at-large. And I had 5 Big Ten teams, including us, and what I thought was a conservative look at the other parts of the country. It had a field of 65, so I started to worry a little bit then. But all's well that ends well. And we're in the field, and you don't have a chance to win if you don't get there. So we've got a chance, and that's all that anyone could ask for. I feel strongly that we belong, so I'm not going to talk about anything along that line. We belonged in the field, and we're there. So we now need to prepare quick and hard for Western Kentucky. It's convenient, yet it'll be a little more of a hassle. The closer you are, the more people who will want to go. So from that standpoint, there will be more distractions potentially, and we've got to make sure those don't enter in. But I'm sure that we will go down, and I don't know that much about Western Kentucky. I've watched them casually on TV. I know they won about 26 games, so we're anxious and excited, looking forward to a return trip to the tournament.
Your reaction to being selected a number 9 seed? I'm sorry.
I don't think that makes a great deal of difference. I didn't know where we would be. I thought probably 10 or 11, but I don't think it makes a great difference. You're going to play someone that they think's about as good as you are, and if you win that one, you have to play the number 1 seed.
What would you maybe do it differently with the freshmen that you have this year, that what you may have learned when you had Fabulous 5 the first year going into tournament play?
Well, this is a whole different scenario. We've got a group that have blended in the way most college freshmen do. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of talk put on Michigan's freshmen in this year's tournament like there was 4 years ago or 3 years ago when Jimmy and Ray were freshmen.
Steve, what ingredients do you have that you like for a possible tournament record this time? What does it have?
Well, I think we've got some a team that is strong-willed, tough-minded. We've got some experience, especially in King and Jackson and then Dugan. And we have an exceptional defensive team. And if you're going to win, you got to have good defense. So we do have some qualities. Now, we don't have all the qualities that you need if you want to win the national championship. However, there have been teams that have not had all the qualities, that have made strong and long runs. So we're going to go in. Most people think that if we win one game, we'll be fortunate and we're going to be a second round out. That will be the best case scenario for Michigan. That's what most people think. We're going to Dayton for our little two-game tournament, and that's how we've tried to break it down and hope to win it.
Jimmy talked about this being the third season within a season. Is that the mindset that you're trying to preach?
That's the mindset everybody preaches. You heard all of them talk on TV and break it down in a variety of ways, but everybody talks about starting this a new season, a new run, and we're no different. We view it that way. We think we're good enough to beat anybody. Now, whether we're good enough to string a lot of wins and a lot of good games together, we've not done that. We've not done that all season, so we'll see. We'll see if we can get on a little bit of a run and do something that we haven't been able to do with regularity.
Could you talk about the Big Ten getting in more teams than any other conference in down here? The fact that Iowa.
I think Iowa had to win the game today to get in. When you start looking at a lot of factors, one, the 9-9 overall record, they did win 19 games, but they were a team that came on at the end of the season, beat us, beat Michigan State. Maybe some impact was there with how badly they got beat today. But I'm pleased. I'm not surprised that the Big Ten got 6 teams in the tournament.
Steve, why does defense become so important? Is it more important in the tournament? Why so?
Well, I think defense is important in any part of your season. If you can defend and rebound, you got a chance to win against anybody. And we've been a team that's defended, but we've not always defended and rebounded. That hurt us today. We've not always defended and brought closure to it without fouling. Purdue shot 44 free throws, so we play good defense, but we've got to make sure we defend without fouling, and when we defend well, we've got to rebound the basketball. But I think at any level, if you can defend, you got a chance to win.
What was it like in the locker room today when they were watching the
I think there was some tension. I know from my perspective there was. I felt a sigh of relief when we were on the board, when we got put up. And I think our kids were the same way. I think they felt a little relieved, and then there was a burst of applause and yays and that kind of thing. And they felt they were going to get in, but then, you hear people say, well, the Big Ten's not going to get as many teams, it's not quite as highly rated with their power ratings, et cetera, and we won 17 games. So those are all factors that when people start talking about Michigan, you talk about reasons why they might not get in. But when you win 11 games in our league and finish tied for third, I think you merit getting in.
So you were listening to Digger Phelps? Pardon? You were listening to Digger Phelps?
I honestly didn't hear him. I've heard from others what he said. That we wouldn't get in, or probably wouldn't get in. It would be the odd team out, but you got to say something when you're up there. Somebody gets in, somebody doesn't. Vital had 150 people get in. Because he didn't say there was. He thought everybody should get in, and Digger was at least saying these are those that I don't think should get in. And, I think we belonged in. If they took 5 out of the Big Ten like I thought they would, then I felt like we would be one of the 5.
Might this be the most wide-open tournament you can remember, as far as no clear-cut favorite? It seems like a whole bunch of teams could make some noise.
I think that's true.
Why is
I
it?
think there are a lot of, I think part of it is the 13 scholarship rule has had a big impact. And you say, well, we've had it for a while. I think it's had an effect. I think all the schools that are like a UMass that have come up from not so good to now being a national title contender have caused kids to say, well, if I go here, if I stay close and get a couple other guys on the with me, maybe we can have a chance. And strip some of the really good talent that might be stockpiled someplace to spread around the country.
So you do think this is the most wide open it's been?
I think it probably is, although I think you can make a case for a UCLA who, to me, has been playing terrific, to a Kentucky who has been playing very well of late, as maybe pretty solid favorites to make runs to get to the Final Four.
No clear-cut favorite in your office.
No, I don't think so. No. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
You do not know who Superfan
I know
is.
Superfan. I'm telling you, I know who he is.
How in the world would you know who Superfan is?
Right? I just know, all right?
You have no proof of who Superfan is.
All right. Let's get to the material.
I'm more than willing. Anyways, folks, right back here, I have two of the members of the WOLV sports staff. They're going to give in their 2 cents worth. Andy Cashman, David Rosenbluth. Guys, let's open up the floor. Not this time about Superfan. Anyways, you're a huge UK fan. You think they're right in there in the Final Four.
Well, if you look at the brackets, Kentucky basically has a
Not
cakewalk.
taking my brackets.
Kentucky basically has a cakewalk to the Final Four. I don't see anyone here that's going to beat them. Arizona State,
It's
they're
the
not a
weakest
strong enough
bracket.
team.
It's the weakest bracket of the four in the Southeast, that is.
Who's going to beat him? You going to predict State to beat him?
If
you predict State to beat him, right here, right now, you're losing.
Well,
you're admittance
Michigan
to the school.
State, I'll tell you folks right now, the key to being successful in the NCAA tournament comes down to 2 factors. Good guards and a strong bench. Michigan State has the strong guards, maybe the best backcourt duo in the country with Snow and Resford.
Right.
Where State lacks is the bench, and they also obviously have a weak front court. I mean, Fike has to step up, Brooks has to step up, the list goes on and on. Still, State could pose a threat. I think the biggest threat to Kentucky is going to be Arizona State in the regional semifinals.
We can't overlook UNC in this bracket, but the fact is we don't know anything about Wallace. They've been a little bit weak lately. But other than that, I'd say Kentucky pretty much has an easy way to the Final Four.
And Dave, who stands out in your mind?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the conferences. I was first of all shocked to see 6 Big Ten teams getting in. My prediction, after the first weekend, all 6 of those teams will be gone. Another conference, the ACC only got 4 teams in. Only 4. Hold on, Danny. All those teams, Wake Forest, Maryland, Virginia, UNC, they'll all move on. I guess I could see Purdue beating Memphis, but don't be shocked to see a lot of first-round losses for the Big Ten.
And gee, Dave, I don't want to get off on a sidetracked subject. However, that comes down to one word, money. And in the famous words of the song, money, 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 money. CBS owns the NCAA tournament, Dave. That's a fact of life. When you pay over $1 billion for an event, you own it. The Big Ten gives the highest revenue. The Big Ten gives the highest ratings. The Big Ten's going to have the most teams in it. In addition to that, keep in mind the ACC's TV contract is with ABC, not CBS.
I'll tell you, Dan, Georgia Tech will give you just as many fans as an Illinois who may not deserve to be in it, along with maybe, I guess, Indiana and Bobby Knight.
That was an unfair. No, wait. You're telling me, I don't want. This is a totally off-the-track subject. I can tell you right now that was a obscene comment. Indiana has the highest TV ratings of any team in the Big Ten. They do not.
I'll give you that.
Do not even come close to Georgia Tech. They
I
are
really think,
head and shoulders above them.
I think we want to see the best 64 teams in the nation in the tournament. Big Ten doesn't show
Speaking of 64 teams,
I think the bottom
what
line
about Wake Forest? Wake Forest, the #1 team. I mean, they could legitimately make it all the way.
I don't see Wake Forest making it all the way. They're the weakest #1 seed in the bracket. In their bracket, I'd say that is the most wide open bracket. I'm going to go out a little bit out on a limb here and call Villanova.
Wait, I said Villanova.
Hey, I'm allowed to say it too.
Everybody wants to copy the president. It's just a fact of life. But
trying to make it further in this.
Imitation's the greatest form of flattery, Dave. Still, what about UNC? Can UNC topple Kentucky even without Wallace?
Without Wallace, they don't have what they need. You need the inside-outside game, and they don't have that. With Wallace, Wallace is a quality big man, and they can't bang inside. This tournament's a long tournament, need to win a few games in a row, and without a big man, I just don't see that being possible.
And how about this for frustration? Last year, Michigan lost to Arkansas. This year, I'll bet money that Arkansas wins their bracket again. Arkansas is the number 2 seed in the Midwest Regional, and they really have an easy road. The greatest threat could be Syracuse, the number 7 team.
That's my call, Danny. Where are you trying to
Hey, I'm saying Arkansas is going to beat Syracuse.
That Syracuse pick. Syracuse has struggled throughout the last several
I think Arkansas will beat Syracuse.
Oh, I agree with you. I definitely see Arkansas coming through that bracket. The top part of the Midwest there, though, definitely could. That's where Michigan is. Could surprise some people. Kansas could get knocked off early, I think.
By who? By Michigan?
The Wolverines.
You honestly think Michigan can match up with Kansas? No,
I
love
think so. I know
Michigan.
they got Ostertag and some tough things going on.
You have Ostertag, you have Haslett, LaFrentz. I would say the most complete team in the tournament.
Virginia, Arizona,
second to UCLA. I think UCLA is the most complete team just because they blend youth and experience so well. Tyus Edney, Ed O'Banion, the 2 seniors. Charles O'Banion is now a sophomore. They really have a nice blend, but Kansas comes in a short second. I would actually love to see a Kansas-UCLA finals.
Don't forget, Kansas got knocked off to Arizona State 2 days ago. You never know. It's madness.
It is madness, Dave. But off of madness, how about the way just jumping? We're jumping side to side, back and forth, back and forth. Before we do that, though, you haven't talked about Michigan. Michigan, Western Kentucky. You think Wolverines will play Kansas? Do you think Wolverines can beat the Jayhawks?
Well, I don't know that much about Western Kentucky, but I always
You don't know much about anything. I can vouch for that.
We're going to get into that a little later. Basically, Western Kentucky is always a good tournament team. They do make a good showing. I have a feeling we're going to get by them. Just the experience alone should get us past them. We shouldn't overlook them, but I think we should be able to get by them. Kansas, on the other hand, is a number 1 team. They're a number 1 seed. But of the number 1 seeds, I do not think they are one of the strongest. They are very beatable. Ostertag is a big man, but he's slow. I think we can match up with him. They do have a pretty good backcourt, but they are beatable.
My feeling with Michigan is I do think they'll win that first round game against Western Kentucky, but throughout the whole season, I don't see a quality win. Of course, they did beat Indiana off that 50-game road streak on the road, but they went 6-6 non-conference, losing to Arizona, Arizona State. A lot of the teams that are in the tournament, Michigan did not beat. They did have some close games, but I don't see them having too many big-time games that they won this season.
Dave, that's unfair criticism of Michigan. They played one of the toughest out-of-conference schedules in the nation.
Did they win any of them, though?
Hold on. Now that they play one of the toughest out-of-conference schedules, what brought Michigan into the tournament was because of their conference play. It is a completely different team, the one that played Arizona, than the one that played, say, Penn State a couple days ago. And I'm not saying it was such a great performance against Penn State. I'm just saying that the team has matured. Wolverines deserve the number 9 seed. That's just about where they should be. I'm agreeing with you that I don't think that will go very far, but I'm saying don't start screaming about their out-of-conference
even in
performance.
Conference, I guess they looked all right today against
in
Purdue,
conference, 11 wins in conference is fabulous. I mean, 3rd in the Big Ten is no slouch.
I just don't see them. I expect Michigan to win some of these home games. They did split with Purdue and swept Illinois and Indiana, but losing to Michigan State twice, they lost at Wisconsin, they lost at Minnesota. A lot of games throughout the season. Even if they did win, I didn't see them playing well. The intensity wasn't there. Hey, I hope the Wolverines go far, but I just don't see it this season.
You also do have to remember that, as Ray Jackson said in the press conference before, that this team has been underachieving all year. They're a young team. If you can get them all performing together on the same night, they can do a lot of damage. If you can get Baston playing well at the same time as Jackson and King, this team is a very good team that has been underachieving all year.
What it comes down to, though, for Michigan is the fact that they don't have an outside shooter. One does not exist. 10 seconds. Final last comments from both of you. I'm only going to give you 10 seconds so you can give your feelings on the tournament. Andy Cashman, begin.
Well, I know you don't agree, Danny, but I'm going to call Kentucky. Kentucky does have the complete package this year. They are a great team. They've been playing well all year, hardly any. I think they had 4 losses all season to very quality
That's more
programs.
than 10 seconds there, Andy.
I'll just take everybody then. My Final Four, UCLA, UMass, Kentucky, and Arkansas. I think I like Arkansas to win it back at the Final Four.
Andy, I don't mean to call you short. Finally, the stage, as always,
taller than Danny,
ends up on me. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It is my joy to actually have the last word before the NCAA tournament commences. And as we begin upon the tournament, it gives us time to reflect upon the past and look forward to the future. Look forward to what has become one of the greatest sporting events in our country. The upsets, the parity, the excitement. It combines the Super Bowl atmosphere with the pageantry of college athletics. But it's also with this intention that we have to remember what exactly we're watching. We're watching teenagers. We're watching young men play a game. And it's just that, a game. And now, to end our program, we have one final look at the two seniors of the Michigan Wolverine squad, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson. Thank you, and good night, my friends.
comebacks, blowouts. I mean, just typical. I mean, that's the way anybody will remember in their career.
Today, Jackson and King are the only players in Michigan history to rank among the school's top 25 in scoring, rebounding, assists, and steals.
I'm getting a degree and I have a chance of playing at the next level. I've met some great friends that I keep with me for life. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything else. I've grown and matured into a man. So, I mean, I feel great.
Prior to tonight's game, Steve Fisher honored his two seniors. He uttered the famous Michigan phrase, "Those who stay will be champions." But Ray Jackson and Jimmy King are more than that. They are leaders. They are survivors. And they are now part of the greatest era in Michigan basketball history. From a reminiscent Chrysler Arena, I'm Danny Schwab.